What's up? Welcome back. It's been a while since I did a video for Oism. Promise to be more thorough with this channel. I definitely think health is. I actually think health is more important than anything, really. I mean, straight up, bottom line. There's no science, no system you can practice more than that's more honorable than health. Because if you're not healthy, you will not get spiritual. Bottom line, right? So, I'm gonna definitely do better with this channel in terms of posting information. And it's funny because I wasn't even going to make a video today, but I was reading an article by a guy named Andrew Smith, and it was kind of interesting because he basically he's a vegan, but he's also a scientist. No, he's a vegetarian. I'm sorry, but he's also a scientist, and he was saying as a vegetarian, he approaches veganism with skepticism, and the reason why he was saying that is because basically. Veganism is not real. There's no way you can be a vegan. And it was interesting, I have to admit, because when he said it, I was like, what does he mean? And then when he broke it down the way he did, I was like, wow, that is true. Because he was basically saying, if you say that you eat all plants, plants come from animal matter. Like if you look at the soil that plants come from, that's made up of dead animal, dead insects. So if that's the case, then then even when you're eating plant-based food, in a certain extent, animal-based food actually affected it because that soil cannot exist if insects weren't dying, if organisms weren't dying. And, to a regular person, it could seem like semantics. It could seem like, well, who cares? You know what I mean? Like the vegans are trying and they are doing a good thing. No one is saying that they're not trying. No one is saying a lot of vegans are not doing what they think is true, what they think is right. I always say this. The human body is in general, whether you want to accept it or not, is made up to be an omnivore. And what that means is that you are able to eat both plant-based products, both animal-based products. So I think when you're an omnivore, you have a choice, right? And when you have a choice, yeah, okay, you choose to be vegan. If that's what you call it, that's fine. But I think what Andrew Smith was saying is that a lot of times vegans tend to have a moral scope where they would say stuff like, well, I'm a vegan because I don't believe in killing creatures, yet you're killing a plant. Now, if you're a vegan that's not spiritual, right? If you're a vegan that's just basically you believe that you don't want to harm animals, okay. Number one, the problem is I think that you're confusing the fact that the animal industry, when it comes to the way we treat animals, is inhumane. There's no question about it. It's actually, I mean, to me, it should be illegal the way they operate. So there's no question. If that's the case, yeah, animals not treated right. But, and this is harder to explain to someone who's not spiritual, because if you're a vegan that says, well, I'm not into killing animals, but you're not spiritual, I give you a pass. The reason why I give you a pass is because if you're a material person, I don't expect you for this in this time period to treat a plant as a sentient being. You will treat a plant as a sentient being eventually. And people may say, wow, that's kind of confident of you to say that. Not really. Science is very close to confirming that plants are sentient beings. I mean, there's been experiments that have shown that plants could actually feel when people are coming. Plants actually seem like they have the beginning of what people call even emotions, right? There's things they like, there's things they don't like. And the fact that they can actually feel humans coming, sometimes they can feel when a human is sad or happy. Again, this is close to being proven. You can tell in 50 to 100 years, plants will be like how some people treat dolphins. Some people treat dolphins as not even animals. They treat them as sentient beings, like beyond animals, right? They treat it like if you kill a dolphin, that's like killing a human being. Is that type of culture crazy? No, that type of culture is revolutionary in their thinking. That type of culture is doing things to transcend the limits of the current consciousness that exists. So when you look at it from that point of view, the same thing will happen with plants, just like how we treat whales and dolphins, and elephants to some extent, where some cultures see them as beyond animals, closer, kind of like in between animal and human. Plants will be eventually under the same banner. So now if you're a vegan that's spiritual, which is the real vegans I'm talking to, who say, well, I don't kill animals because I don't believe in killing human beings. Number one, you're not looking at nature, right? Omnivores have the options. That's just the way it is. Now, can animals be treated correctly? Yeah, animals not treated right. So if you were saying I don't want to consume animals, I don't like the way they're treated. If I don't eat animals by myself, I could save easy 40 to 50 animals per year. Give that 10 years, that's 600 animals. Yes, I give you that. That's a different story. If you want to say that, then I can't argue with you. But if you try to say it's some spiritual connotation, then that's where it's wrong. Because number one, they're definitely plants are definitely sentient beings. In some cultures, they even say plants supersede animals, right? But number two, soil. Like, in the end of the day, to my knowledge, insects are still animal products, right? Because I think sometimes regular people don't understand the difference between vegans and vegetarians. When a regular person hears vegans and vegetarians, they kind of think the same thing. They think a person who doesn't eat meat. What they don't understand is no, vegan is far different than a vegetarian. A vegetarian at times may still, some vegetarians eat fish and call themselves vegetarian. Some vegetarians eat eggs. Some vegetarians don't even care about using products that animals come from, like sometimes deodorant, right, contains chemicals that come from animals, right? A vegan is so thorough, they will investigate all that and not do it. So if there's deodorant that they can look at the ingredients and tell that came from animal products, they will not use it, right? So it's a much more thorough, and obviously if that's the case, they're not going to eat eggs. Fish is like blasphemy, right? Veganism is definitely next level stuff. A vegan may not even eat from a restaurant because the restaurant may cook with oil that's not vegetable oil, or that could be coming from animal fat. So for instance, a vegan wouldn't really say, well, let me go to a Chinese restaurant and eat some food if the Chinese are cooking with stuff that is definitely not vegetable oil. I can say that right now, right? So a vegan is definitely far more extreme than a vegetarian. And I'm not even saying it's bad to be extreme either way, but don't treat it as a moral issue. Definitely don't even treat it as a scientific issue, because in the end of the day, I mean, we could talk about how plants are sentient beings. You could say they're just as sentient as animals. But the real thing is, even when you go back historically, let's rewind. First, you can say, in the end of the day, plants are just as sentient as animals. Second thing you can say is, for the most part, the human body is designed to have an omnivore diet. So whether you choose to be vegetarian, vegan, or you're a carnivore, a lot of times that's based on the time period you're at and based on your social economic status. So if you're a person in a third world country, you're going to tell me that they are wrong because they're not vegan, right? They don't. If you're a person in that country who's not even third world country, you could be a person in this country that's poor. You may not have the choice. You ever seen how cheap they make meat these days? How cheap that stuff is? You may not have a choice. You may have to eat, products that a vegan may deem unfit. So a lot of times when you get into this and you try to make it moral, you're kind of crossing social and economic lines as well. Like, veganism is something that people who have a little bit more money, it's easier for them to do. Now, people may argue that, especially in America, but I could guarantee you, because poor in America is not like poor in other countries. You go to poor other countries, you may not have a choice, especially with veganism. Now, if you're poor in another country, vegetarianism you probably could do. So see, this is not really on vegetarians. This is on vegans. In the end of the day, the hardest thing, which I actually agree with Andrew Smith with, is what he said. Study soil. Study how soil is made. Soil is made from a lot of dead. I mean, there's other things that go into soil as well, but a lot of it comes from dead material. Dead animals, which is really small insects dying, and then the bacteria and nitrogen reforming, taking nitrogen from that soil and then from those objects or those organisms, and then feeding it to the soil, and the soil, in a sense, gets nutrients that the plants absorb. So in the end of the day, insects are still animals. So I do have to agree with Andrew Smith. Yes, veganism, there is really no such thing as it. And the concept of it is really more about how much money you have. And again, I'm including everyone in America. Even if you're poor, you're still not considered poor. When you take the poor people in America, they actually had a stat where they had that. You take the poor people of America, in general, they're still richer than 50 to 60% of the world easily. Right? So I don't want to hear, well, I'm vegetarian and, I'm living in America and I don't have any money and I can still do it. Yes, but again, another country, you may not be able to do that. So at the end of the day, veganism still comes off as an elitist argument, and it's an argument that people can have because you're omnivores, right? Meaning you can make a choice of what you want to eat, but remember, you're an omnivore, so it's not like I'm saying like you're herbivore. An herbivore can only eat plants. So what does that mean? Well, if an herbivore can only eat plants, that means nature designed them to only eat plants. A carnivore might be able to eat some vegetables, but for the most part, they mainly survive on meat. What does that mean? Well, if you try to make your cat a vegetarian, your cat will die. Right? There's actually been vegetarians and vegans who have tried to do that, and the animals died. Right? Why? Because most people are not really following what nature designed. As an omnivore, you have the choice to be vegan, herbivore, carnivore. The difference is, always remember that at the end of the day, it's really more about your social economic class, how much money you have, and it has nothing to do with morality, and it definitely has nothing to do with spirituality. So I hope that helps. Until next time, peace.